Hey there, folks. Welcome back once again. My name is Jason, as you might already know. Painfully Honest Tech Podcast. We're here. We're doing the thing once again. It is always a pleasure to do this thing. If you're brand new here, then please do stay because, it'll make me sad if you leave. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, you can like and you can subscribe to the channel and you can leave us mean comments down below. Those things are all fine. I'm battle hardened when it comes to any of that kind of stuff, but otherwise, yeah, we're just doing this thing, and I'm back once again. It's been too long with my close friend and just all around. I don't even know what the word is. Impresario, impresario, the Mr. Jon Prosser, the man, the myth, the legend, Front Page Tech.
And I have made my illustrious return to PHT.
Yes, and it's good. It's good to have you here, man. I appreciate it.
How many years?
I don't even know. That's the thing. We were just talking before we went live about how like everything that happened 5 years ago seemed like it happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, we fast forward to now.
Yeah.
Now I'm 30. Now I'm old with you.
I know, and I'm just older.
I feel like we had like a spree, like 2017, 2018, where you and I were like on a lot of stuff together.
Yeah, I mean, that was the time when I think it was Front Page Tech, my channel, Talos of Tech. We were kind of all had a surge at the same time. So we all, I was pleased to like get to know you guys, and the rest was history, obviously.
Yeah. And now here, my cat, if my door opens, it's because my cat is at the door handle. I can hear him. He's a little gremlin.
I remember when you first got that cat. Actually, that's
how
long ago it was. Yeah, because we were on a live stream.
Yeah.
We were on a live stream, and the cat was like crawling all over the back of your chair and stuff.
Yes, the little kitten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I got a kitten. This would have been when I was still in college, and little black cat. And it crawled up my roommate. My roommate was a huge guy. Crawled up his front and sat on his shoulder to try and eat the macaroni and cheese that he was eating. And
I would do the same thing, to be honest.
Well, he got the cat off, put it down. He was like, "Oh, the cat got some macaroni and cheese on my shoulder," and then licked it, and it was poop.
I have to go. Okay, absolutely. That was awful.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't ready for the turn that was going to take.
I got a lot of stories, man.
Tech podcast, huh? Sounds like my tech podcast where we don't talk about tech at all.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do it here in a second because, John's got all the inside information about everything.
Yeah, do I? Something like that.
No, it's funny because like. I try not to pay attention to Apple like pre-game, like iPhone stuff.
That's all I am. I am only the pre-game.
And well, I mean, your stuff has been generally like really informative and all that kind of thing. But I think the thing that gets me is that at least for a while, and I don't even know if it still is, but for a while, like it was the way everybody was trying to get views on YouTube was like leaks of this, that, or the other thing, Apple related or just general smartphones or anything like that. And yeah, I mean,
well, I think it's I can't tell because I think about this often because, I mean, as creators, we're always thinking about like content strategy and stuff. And I don't know who to blame. I don't know if it's the creators that facilitated the talking of the leaks, like that created this leak culture.
Right.
Or if it's the audience. Like I almost feel like the audience, the general audience for tech stuff, the demographic, tends to not care once something becomes official. It's like talking about the leaks and the pregame, as you say, is like my bread and butter. But like once the iPhone 15 comes out and I put out a video about the iPhone 15, people are like,
but then there are whole other channels that like go deep.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why they stopped caring on my end because it's like, okay, John's job is done. Now let's go listen to the people that talk about it after.
Yeah, there's a channel of this guy. He calls himself Proper Honest Tech, and I'm like,
What?
Yeah.
Are you gonna sue?
No. No. He's in England, so I don't know how that works. But
I think they still steal in England. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like he stole.
well, the reason I thought of it was because that's kind of his whole thing is like deep diving into iPhone and Mac OS and other like features and stuff. So
Gotcha.
but he actually does a really good job of it. There are plenty of people who do. But yeah, he popped up on my YouTube feed at one point, and I was like, wait a minute. I took it personally for a second. but yeah, so I mean that might be true. It might be true that people like kind of migrate from seasonally from one group of channels to the next or something like that.
Yeah, that might be on me too. For I have conditioned them to pre-game with me and then go somewhere else for post-game.
Yeah. You need to become like the all-you-can-eat buffet, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. For one small price, you get all of it.
Yes. All the Jon Prosser you could possibly.
Yeah. All the Jon Prosser you can eat.
Oh man. Well, speaking of which, like I was looking through the headlines today, and in fact on Twitter, I refuse to call it X.
Yeah, let's not.
I saw that the iPhone 15 was trending, and the big story seemed to be that now the iPhone 15 Pro Max is going to be delayed until October.
Oh yeah, I leaked that last month sometime, and no one listened because it's me. Yeah, they ran into some hiccups, but if it counts, I'm here in early October.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
because it was so the fall event is the 12th of September, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's when it's expected.
Yeah. So then usually the phones get delivered like 1 week later.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a couple of weeks probably delay.
Yeah, I would imagine they're still going to be announced all together.
Yeah.
And one will just ship a little bit later.
Yeah. That leaves those of us who cover these phones in a weird position, because like normally I would buy the Pro Max for myself.
Yeah.
Or the Ultra. Is it going to be the Ultra?
That's what we're hearing. We're hearing that no more Pro Max, and it's going to. I mean, if anything, this year it makes sense, if only for the periscope lens, I guess, to call it something else.
Right. Yeah, it's.
So what? We'd have iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Plus, iPhone 15 Pro, and iPhone 15 Ultra.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like brands of tampons or something.
Yeah, why are we doing this?
I don't know. I don't know. Apple started out simply. In fact, I just watched this. I was like watching some Apple related stuff, and then I saw this sort of tribute to Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was some of his sayings and quotes and different things. And then it showed him announcing big products that had come out while he was still around. And one was the iPhone. And they just called it iPhone. And it was like
imagine that.
Beautifully simple, right? It's like, and now it's like you got iPhone SE and you got all these other things. And on one hand, I think it's good because the iPhone SE is gonna be something that is going toward one financial demographic and puts the iPhone within reach for them.
Yeah.
But once you get into like Pro Max Ultra, it's like,
is iPhone 15 Ultra better than Pro Max? Like Pro Max is also kind of goofy.
Yeah. Well, this has been the long conversation over the years as they've started to use Pro on these things, is whether or not it's actually Pro.
Yeah, but I don't care about all that. Well, it's just marketing.
My whole thing is like, if you can use it in a professional venue, then certainly it's Pro, but you could use anything in professional venue.
Yeah.
So it's like
Pro, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just marketing. And for a while everything was Air, and now everything is Pro.
Now all the Air stuff, like how much thinner, that's just the thing now.
Yeah.
Like it's not special. anymore. It's just I feel like they should just instead of calling it Mac. I mean, they won't because MacBook Air is too iconic. iPad Air, but they should just be iPad and MacBook. That's where
Yeah.
we're at now with those.
Yeah, I agree. And now that they got the 15-inch MacBook Air, it's like I'm glad they didn't tag on another like modifier.
Yeah,
They
15-inch more Air
I guess they could have called it the MacBook Air Plus.
or the Air Max.
Yeah.
Oh, just the thank you, Apple, and hopefully they didn't just get any ideas.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was like. God, if we gave them those
Can we
ideas,
just edit that out?
yeah,
So they never know.
Yeah, let's not tell anybody. That's the beauty of doing this not live. Is that I mean we're live together, but
Yeah, but not in front of the people. Too
Yeah.
dangerous.
it is. It is. Yeah, I've been known to put my foot in my mouth.
Yeah. Have you like your idea with live streams? Are you kind of like are you done with them?
I like doing live streams, and
I'm terrified. I will not do them.
yeah, I like doing it because I like having the back and forth between the folks who are watching and myself and that sort of thing. But I found that I don't want to leave people out of the discussion, and so doing like a live podcast always felt kind of weird. So I think one thing that I was thinking about, and maybe the people who are watching right now can chime in on this or listening, however you're partaking. I was thinking about what if I did the podcast and then did it as a premiere, and then I could like
A little bit of both.
as people
best of
were
both worlds.
watching the podcast, I could do like a little bit of commenting and answering questions.
Premiere this one so it'll look like you made a special exception for me.
Yeah, I will. remember how nobody seems to pay attention to premieres at all anymore, but back in the day we were all like, no, dude, the premiere kills your channel.
Yeah. I mean, for sure it did for a second when they were when they first became a thing. Well, do you remember when we were all trying to be creative, like before premieres were a thing?
Yeah.
We started live streaming before big videos dropped. Like
Right.
FPT had a live stream called FPT Kickstart, where
I
that
did it before
to
Can You
100K.
Trusts. Yeah.
Yeah, before that helped us get to 100K. Before big videos, we would live stream for say 10-15 minutes, drop the video at the end of the live stream, send everyone over to the video, and like game the views that way.
Right.
But then YouTube was just like, what if it was a feature?
Yeah, it's always that's like when your dad
we
starts
take credit
listening
for
to
that?
the music that you like.
Yeah. Should we take credit for that? Can we?
I don't think anybody would say we.
Like, I
No.
don't think anyone can stop us. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna take credit for that.
Yeah, that
The
sounds
premiere feature started with us. You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah, and then there was always the thing like, do live streams hurt your channel? And more recently it's been like, do shorts hurt your channel?
Yeah.
And at a certain point I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. It's too hard.
Yeah, I'll just try them all and see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of like doing shorts because it's a way to get like different kinds of content or get more content into a different viewer,
But it's so contradictory. Like YouTube right now is going through a weird phase where like they are really favoring long content. And I remember, back when people like PewDiePie really took off and stuff,
Right.
that's when everyone was like, oh, YouTube favors more watch time and longer content. But longer content back then was like 10 minutes. That's like
Right.
a long YouTube video. I'm seeing stuff that's like hours, 3-4 hours long now that YouTube's like, yes, you get all the views. Thank you. But at the same time, they're launching shorts to compete with TikTok, and I just don't think that's what YouTube is now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you are somebody who's been on YouTube for a long time and you want to do shorts, it kind of like it can make sense as long as you do it in a way that like is value added to the channel, But yeah, the danger of the long form content is you might have what would seem like great retention for a regularly sized video.
Yeah.
But if people like watch a half an hour of your 2 hour long video, then you get 25% retention rate.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then
Can't win.
you get great view, you get great watch time, but not so great retention.
Yeah.
And I think that's always seemed like a weird blind spot to me in how YouTube looks at stuff,
Yeah.
because watch time and retention seem like two sides of the same coin. So if you use them both,
Yeah. It's kind of how they favor high CTR, but the more impressions you get, the lower your CTR is.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, so many people have been saying like, well, now, mid-size and smaller YouTube channels are kind of up against it because big channels get higher click-through rates because they have more subscribers. And so there's a law of diminishing returns that happens with smaller channels.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, like, I'm just like, okay, I need to be aware of that stuff. But if I like dig too deep into it, then it's like too inside baseball, and I forget that I'm trying to
Yeah.
make videos that people want to watch.
I feel that.
Yeah. But back to the iPhone.
Oh yeah, tech stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think I think the delay is not going to be that big a deal, but I think the reason we got off on talking about YouTube is that everybody wants to cover the iPhone like day one. But if the phone that you personally are gonna grab isn't coming out for like 2 or 3 more weeks, the solution is to get them all, I guess. But
Yeah, they'll do the typical YouTuber thing where it's buy one that gets released, return it, and then buy the one you want, and then review that too.
yeah, it does present the case for double dipping, because then you can talk about the periscope lens and all the specific stuff that phone's
It's
gonna have.
almost like it kind of works out in our favor because then we don't have to blow our whole YouTuber load in 1 month. It gives us a little something for the next month, I guess.
Yeah, it's and Techtober,
Yep. Techtober.
yeah, it's all happening. Then we ride straight into Black November. And after that, I what do you call December? I don't
And
even know.
we should be getting Max in October too.
Yeah.
October, November ish. So
Yeah.
we'll have some more stuff.
Yeah, but so it seems like foregone conclusions are USB-C.
Of course.
Yeah. And it would just be Apple being Apple if it was not.
Yeah, it's MFI certifications with USB-C, so it's not like you can go to the store and buy any USB-C cable or use your existing USB-C cables. The base models are still going to be limited with data transfer and speeds and stuff.
Right.
So it's still like they're still appling it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody the other day talking about whether or not they were going to put Thunderbolt 4 in one of these devices.
The Pros are supposed to, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Pros are supposed to have Thunderbolt 4 speeds,
which is insane because we're talking like 40 megabits per second or something.
Yeah,
like that.
That's exactly it, actually.
Yeah.
Good call right off the top of your head.
Hey,
it's almost like we do this for a living.
I do this for a living.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so. But the one thing that bothers me about it, Thunderbolt 4 on the iPad and now potentially on the iPhone, is that you can't use Thunderbolt peripherals, right? Like I have a Thunderbolt audio interface.
Yeah.
But I couldn't use it with my iPad or with.
Oh, that would be too pro.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Exactly. But I mean, part of the problem is with the devices themselves. Most of them have intermediary apps that aren't developed for the mobile operating system.
Yeah.
But like the interface that I'm using right now doesn't really have an app. There's so you can use USB regular stuff.
USB regular.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything that's class compliant, you can plug into an iPad or whatever.
Yeah.
Or an iPhone for that matter. But there's nothing similar in terms of Thunderbolt. So it's like you can hook up a drive to it. But who's going to hook up a drive to their iPhone?
Yeah.
So
nobody.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the transfer speeds are for what? ProRes, because we can record ProRes stuff on the phone now. Which, by the way, for them to introduce ProRes and not give us like way more storage and
Yeah.
faster transfer speeds. They're like, here's ProRes, you can record like maybe 2 minutes, and also you have to airdrop all of it. You're welcome.
I know. AirDrop is a wonderful feature.
It is.
But yeah, anytime you like try and transfer any kind of 4K video over, you're just like, is it gonna work? Oh shoot,
Is it gonna work?
my phone went back to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel bad for AirDrop sometimes. It's like, you know, it's only rated to go 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But sometimes you try and make it go like 65.
It really is great. It's just yeah, when they're introducing more stuff like ProRes, and I mean even sometimes, like you said, 4K just by itself is a lot for AirDrop to handle. So the least they could do was give us better transfer speeds, I guess. But are they going to really push the pro use now for those phones? Because now they can actually like pitch you, hey, you can record ProRes video and you can transfer it off fast enough to edit it.
Yeah, and the question, well, you could even like work off of the phone as a drive.
Yeah,
potentially. You know, but the question is like when they came out with Logic Pro for the iPad and Final Cut for the iPad, I was like, this is cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And I made a video where I wrote a song with Logic Pro for iPad, and it was really good. I mean, I've used Logic Pro for a long time, like almost 20 years, I think. And so like before Apple bought it.
I was going to say that was before Apple bought it.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in the days when Pro Tools was what everybody wanted to use, but Pro Tools made you buy hardware that was way too expensive to afford. So you tried to find something that didn't have that stipulation.
Yeah.
But so that's how I found Logic. And it's actually really cool. And I guess I could see like if you're somebody who started using that as your main workstation, right? Then you could like it's a platform that will develop, right? But Logic Pro versus Logic Pro for iPad is kind of weird because Logic Pro for iPad is not GarageBand. It has pro features, but it's definitely not like full fat Logic Pro for the Mac.
Is that what they're gonna do though? Like, are they gonna promote the Pro phones and especially the Ultra one and the camera capabilities, and then throwing in the data transfer speeds and try to tell you that the optimal workflow is to transfer to an iPad?
I don't know.
And edit on the iPad now?
It seems like, well, they're not gonna put like pro apps on the iPhone, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
And trying to edit video on the iPhone would be not impossible. I've done it with like quick videos that I wanted to get out.
Yeah, you had one on last week, so
yeah. So 3 hours long, and Juan's the guy who does the I did everything on the phone.
He does insane stuff from phones.
I know.
Like insane stuff.
I just don't have the patience.
Yeah, me either. My fingers are too fat and my time is too short.
Yeah, I know. I feel about the same way. But yeah, I feel like Apple, there's like a really smooth and straight path that Apple could take with all of their hardware. But they've built this infrastructure of hardware that is sort of like a little Russian nesting doll.
Okay.
When it starts with the iPhone, or maybe you get the Apple Watch is inside. It's the prize inside. But then you start with the iPhone, then you go to the iPad and the bigger iPads, and then the smaller MacBooks. And, you know, and it just kind of grows out. So they want you to own all of those devices, like some version of all of those devices.
Yeah.
But more simply, you know, you could have the Apple Watch be your phone, and then you could have the iPad be your computer, unless you wanted a desktop, which they could sell. but it doesn't have to be like 6 devices.
Are you on speaking of desktop, are you on a Mac Studio right now?
I am.
Dude,
I am.
the perfect computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the best.
I mean, it's for most stuff, it's way more than way more than anybody would ever need to like just, you know.
But for us,
Yeah.
it's like the Mac Studio is probably my favorite product they've released in a long time. I was on the 24-inch iMac, like editing on that for a long time, just waiting for the big iMac Pro to come back. And so I was dead set on waiting for that. And then they introduced the Mac Studio, and even during the keynote and stuff, they were presenting it as if we were the core demographic,
right?
Like creators, YouTubers.
Yeah,
it's the perfect computer for us.
Yeah,
the Mac Pro looks silly now.
I know. That was the thing. Like when they announced the new Mac Pro, and they had just got done announcing the Mac Studio Ultra. And then you look at the insides of both of them, and it's like, well,
the same.
They're exactly the same. There's no like parts that you can interchangeable parts that you can move in and out of the Mac Pro anymore. So it's like a giant aluminum box with a tiny little
price.
Yeah, with a tiny little system on a chip inside, and you're paying for 3-dimensional holes, I guess.
Yeah, like it's so cute. I'm looking at it. It's right on the desk. It's just a little block of greatness.
Yeah, I really like it. In fact, I got the Mac, just the base model when it came out. And then of course I was like, well, I kind of want to have a MacBook so I can run around with it.
Yeah.
Not thinking
you
about
use a MacBook Air for that or a MacBook Pro?
Well, I ended up getting the MacBook Pro with 32 gigs of RAM, like basically the Mac Studio in MacBook 4.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But instead of $2,000, it was $3,600.
Yeah. I just use the MacBook Air for running around and like traveling and stuff. Surprisingly great.
Yeah. And that's probably what I do now. Like I don't go anywhere. And when I do, I have the 12.9-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 chip in it. And it can do just about anything that you want it to.
This is what, the M2 MacBook Air, and I have edited front page tech on it, like traveling and stuff. I usually just take, because I don't know what you record on, but I record on SSDs, so I will just take the footage from the SSD, take the SSD with me if I'm on a trip, and I can edit a full 4K episode on my MacBook Air.
Yeah, I remember one year, several years ago, Jaime Rivera gave probably the best explanation of Macs.
Okay.
And he was just basically like, any Mac will do what you want it to. It just, one might take a lot longer than the other. That's fair,
yeah. Apple has really changed how, like, it's almost like specs don't matter anymore in Apple land.
Yeah.
And that feels pretty good. Like, you're pretty solid with anything that you buy. You're not going to, like, kind of like you just said, it might be a little bit slower, but you can do it.
The one thing that I ran into when the M chips first came out, and like the off-the-shelf MacBooks had 16 gigs of RAM built in, I ran into problems where it would turn over and like start using swap memory. And when you got close to the 16 gig limit, it would start to chug. And I don't think most people would experience that. But if you're doing like big video files or something like that, it just seemed to just choke up at some point, which was frustrating. So that's when I got the Mac Studio. 32 gigs on these M series chips. If you're going to do anything that's like somewhat heavy lifting, 32 gigs is like, you'll never use it all.
Yeah.
But it's better than not having enough.
Yeah, I think mine has 64. Never come close.
Yeah. One thing that I really like about Apple products is there are Apple products out there. Not all base models are what you would recommend somebody get, but something like, I think the MacBook 14-inch and the Mac Studio base, those are relatively inexpensive by comparison to the other MacBooks and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think 90% of everybody could do everything that they would want with no problem.
Yeah, the only thing that keeps me from recommending base stuff with Apple is the storage, dude. Like it is.
I know.
It is so goofy that I don't have to care about specs, the speeds, anything like that. It just works, and my only limitation is something as simple as storage.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on.
And I've just started using so I bought a little Thunderbolt enclosure for an SSD.
Okay.
And so I have a 2 GB or 2 TB SSD that I'm working off of now. And I'll probably just, get another SSD and put it in there and use that as like the work drive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not perfect, but yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that bothers me about the MacBook or the base MacBooks, the base Studio, even the base iPhones. Although I did see in my perusing today that somebody was saying that the base storage on the Pro models is going to be 256.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the 4K videos, the ProRes video, if they're going to pitch this and promote this as a viable option to use as a camera, and they're going to encourage you to record on that and edit on an iPad, and they're going to be talking about transferring this and that, you've got to give us the base storage has to be higher.
Yeah.
It has to be on not just iPhone, but on everything.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think the MacBook Air base storage is like 256 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
I remember carrying around flash drives with more than that in high school.
And the thing is, so if I wanted to get 2 TB put into a Mac, right?
Yeah.
It would cost me $800. But if I go to Amazon and order a 2 TB M.2 SSD,
Mm-hmm.
right now they're like $120.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 TB for $800 or
Yeah.
8 TB for $200.
Yeah.
It's just it's crazy.
Yeah, I have just a couple of those Samsung SSDs plugged into my Mac Studio.
Yeah. And
it also helps because I upgrade my Mac Studio every year.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of swap in and swap out. That's all.
Yeah, I bought this current Studio when the new one was being released.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in between computers. I'd sold my MacBook, and so I was like, okay, it's still a week before the other one comes out. And I took a guess, and I was like, I think that as soon as it comes out, they're going to drop the price of the M1 Max by some amount of money to get rid of them. So of course I went and I bought it at Best Buy, and they have price match guarantees. So
you have the M1 Max variant, or okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
I just got the M1 Max because I looked at the specs between the two, and
negligible kind of
it seemed
for
like
what we're doing.
Yeah, and it seemed like the two would be an improvement, but not like a night and day improvement.
So I have the M2 Ultra version, but the only reason maybe buy it if nothing had been wrong with the previous version, then this one it's faster, but it wouldn't.
Right.
I probably wouldn't justify it. I'd probably keep my other one. The reason I kept this one was because, and Apple hasn't like admitted this or anything like that, but the M1 Ultra, there was just something off.
Right.
Because you know how they're kind of like spliced together, just two M1 Max chips.
Right.
It was almost like in the communication between the chips, it would hiccup a little bit.
Right.
And the M2 Ultra for me hasn't displayed any issues like that. It's not much faster of an experience, much smoother of an experience.
Right.
And so it was worth keeping it. But it wasn't until I was using M2 Ultra on a daily basis to where I was like, M1 Ultra was kind of messed up.
Right. Yeah. I remember hearing that from, I think it was Max Tech who did a deep dive into that phenomenon. And when you're spending that kind of money on a desktop computer, it's like, okay,
yeah,
I don't want this to be messed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I keep trying to, it's hard to explain to people. I think a lot of Apple based stuff is hard to explain to people who don't use Apple products. You know, so if you want to talk to them about what, like even something like iMessage, they're like, well, what, you know, I don't care. I use WhatsApp.
Yeah. I
And
don't care.
that's fair, I guess, but you know, iMessage is, it's the security, it's the fidelity of the stuff that you're sending people. It's all internet based. It's not, you know, so it's a little bit more than just, you know, having group chats, which I think is what
Uh-huh.
people think about when they think about iMessage. And
Mhm.
now Android has RCS, which I just noticed that it's like on my Android phone now, and I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things that everyone hopes and wishes Apple would adopt, but I just don't see it.
I don't see it because I think that, again, the juice wouldn't be worth the squeeze.
Yeah, no.
You know, I mean, that's a lot of development for something that, you know, Android, for better or worse. I don't have any real problem with Android, but the big difference between Apple and Microsoft, or Apple and Android manufacturers, is that Apple's like vertically integrated.
Yeah.
They've got all the means of production. They deal with hardware, software, everything. They optimize it all. And then Android is kind of like Windows computers, where you can buy parts from all kind of places, and
Yeah.
you have all different OEMs with running the same software, so it can never really be optimized.
Yeah, and RCS kind of fixes an issue for Android that iPhones never had. So
Right.
it's like, why even bother? Why Apple has nothing to gain and kind of a lot to lose by incorporating and developmenting RCS into Apple stuff.
Right. And I did see that there's now an app that you can get on Android. I think it's like $5 that will bring your iMessages over.
Oh, sort of act like a middleman.
Yeah. But I haven't looked at it to see like what the difference is. I mean, that is the one big pain point of switching from an iPhone to Android, is that Android, even though it's now got RCS and everything like that, like if I switch Android phones, I lose all the messages that I had.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, there's something to be said for like, I'm
So
sure there's a way to
what are you
back them up.
mainly
And
using right now?
uh up until this past week, I was using the Pixel Fold, and then I broke down and got the Z Fold 5, just
Okay, but
because.
are you using these things because of your job, or
Pretty much, yeah.
like if you didn't have to make content on any of this stuff, would you just be on an iPhone?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think because I started making videos and doing stuff with tech because I was always interested in what it was. So
Mhm.
I would probably dabble here and there, like try a different phone or something. But I mean, when you're talking phones that are $1,800, it's no longer dabbling if you don't have a reason to do it.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm finishing up my Pixel Fold review right now, and I'm gonna move on to doing something about the Fold 5.
Uh-huh.
Now this is all getting confusing because the Pixel is the Pixel Fold, and then we got the Z Fold 5, and we've been calling the Z phones Folds for 5 years.
Uh-huh.
but I'm gonna
For 5 years.
switch over to do something on that, and probably, a comparison video, something like that, before the Apple event happens.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah.
but the foldables, like, I get really excited when I first grab one, and I'm like, ooh, it opens up, and
Mhm.
they are really nice phones. The hardware is super nice, but it takes a couple of days before you kind of start hitting the things that they still don't do quite right, you
Yeah,
know?
gotcha.
And it was interesting going from the Pixel Fold over to the Samsung, because the Pixel Fold, I would say that the Pixel devices are the most Apple-like Android phones, because they try and make
Yeah.
the experience holistic. You know,
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
they don't overdo it. You remember when Samsung would throw all this stuff into their
Yeah,
phones?
you
Like,
can blink and we'll scroll for you. It's
yeah,
like, okay.
just like it's like just because you can do something
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you should.
I still feel that way about foldables. I'm just like, I feel like it's a stopgap because people got bored.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing. Yeah, it's incredible that we can bend an OLED display. Doesn't mean that we should.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I remember when the first Galaxy Z Fold came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, this is not the next big thing. This is not, a generational paradigm shifting. All of a sudden, the smartphone is interesting again thing. It's fun. It's geeky, and I think there's plenty of geeks out there who will use it, right? But it's not transformational.
Well, why are you on a Samsung foldable right now?
Because I was curious enough about it, and I figured I'm curious. I can make content. Will I keep it? Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, I'm still like my daily driver for more than a year. I hate that phrase, but
Yeah.
it seems like you have to use it now.
Yeah.
iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Dude, I mean, by the time I had the regret, I had, it's whatever because I paid full price for the phone already. But yeah, I'd be more than happy if I still just had my 13 Pro right now.
Yeah. Well, the one reason that
is it part of getting old, Jason?
Here's what it is for me, and I don't know. It might have something to do with getting
old.
Less because I'm old now, and so I can't know. Like, right? I've started looking at things and wondering, like, am I too old to understand that? Like, like funny meme videos. Like,
yeah.
I like my daughter puts them on, and some of them are funny, and some of them are like, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, that's like, not to open a whole can of worms here, but X or Twitter opening up monetization to basically anybody has turned just regular people into engagement farms, and it's just gross. Like Twitter, whatever semblance of I don't even know what any feeling of, hey, I should open this app right now.
Yeah.
It's just there's like nothing left, and it was already Elon to me. I mean, people already know my stance on Elon, or at least what he's done with X and Twitter. I don't like or appreciate what he's done with the platform, but now it's the monetization thing is a good idea on his part. Like he did good there. The issue is you shouldn't give that opportunity to just everybody because I just feel like that it's even worse of a mess now.
Yeah.
Like none of the posts mean anything. It's all just, I heard this is happening. What do you think? Just to farm engagement, and so people can get like $10 at the end of the month.
I actually tweeted about this the other day because
so bad.
the biggest offenders that I have seen have been Apple focused influencers.
Agreed.
And your partner happens to do this.
Yeah, Sam really he really, it's like his this was before the monetization stuff came into play, and he was just growing the account, and his sort of style of tweeting has now been mimicked by everyone in the community, and now it's just awful.
Yeah, because it's posts like, the iPhone is just really beautiful. And I just want to be like, fuck you.
Well, I mean, it worked. The issue is now, like, everyone is doing it. Every single account is doing it that way, and add on the monetization aspect, and it's just, there's nothing meaningful on that platform right now.
It's true. And I think we've discovered that, for better or worse, when Threads happened, everybody was like, oh no, disruptor. I don't know when the last time I opened the Threads app was.
I still open Threads every day. I think that I mean, they most certainly have a long way to go, but they're going to be the only viable competition to X or Twitter that we're going to have for a long time,
Mostly
unless
because,
something catastrophic happens.
yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. You hear a lot of, so I think that the monetization thing was smart on Elon's part for one reason. He is hemorrhaging money, right? So it might
Mhm.
seem counterintuitive to be like spend more money by giving creators money
Yeah.
to to
But
stop
the
that.
incentive for people to like, post original content on Twitter, because especially with people like us, it's just post link to YouTube video, send
Yeah,
people to YouTube.
yeah. Well, and I mean, he can now go back to advertisers and say like, our engagement is way up.
Yeah. Now
You
we
know?
have original content.
Yeah,
And yeah. I saw what is it? Sammy's publication Supercharged. Their
yeah,
Apple publication, they're doing just X now. So instead of directing people to the website, they're actually like writing articles native on X. And I think that that is a good idea for the current landscape, bad idea for how reckless Elon is, because any of that can change.
yeah,
So like it can change just because he had a weird feeling one night and at 4 a.m. he tweeted some bullshit and changed how everything works. It's just
yeah,
I would be terrified of building my platform on Twitter right now, like dedicated Twitter platform, because he can change anything and then it's all your eggs in one basket again.
yeah. No, I mean, I see it as being like, I've always looked at Twitter as kind of like the green room of YouTube for, at least
Mm.
for tech people. You know, like
Yeah,
everybody that whose videos you watch and or who
I see that.
they're all there, and so you can sort of talk amongst yourselves and DM to set things up or whatever. And so I've always looked at it like that and never really tried to grow all that much on Twitter.
Hmm. I have more Twitter followers than I have YouTube subscribers, and that's just because for 2021, 2022, that's where all my leaks were.
Right,
I took like 6 months off of YouTube and was like just publishing stuff on Twitter, and I think that's what caused that to happen. But
right, yeah,
I think I get nothing from it.
yeah. I,
I'd much rather have those followers on YouTube, but
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where I wouldn't, again, like you said, never trust that platform to be a monetary source for me over the long term.
yeah, it's already scary having most of my eggs in the YouTube basket, right?
Yeah,
Having it's never a good idea for anybody to have all your eggs in one platform, but specifically this one with how fast things change and just on a whim, like just on a feeling that he has in the middle of the night, he can change anything at any time and blow it all up.
yeah.
So,
And the thing that was most concerning for me was this like name and brand change,
mhm.
because you know Twitter had what,
Well,
15 plus years of
it makes it
brand
his.
recognition,
Yeah.
and he just makes it into like you
I think
can't.
it's purely ego. X makes it his. He didn't build Twitter, so rename it.
But I mean, he paid $40 million for Twitter because it was Twitter.
He
That's
did
the
do that.
thing. That's the thing that I think gets, he has some sort of disconnect, where it's like, he seems like Lex Luthor now.
It
Where
might
he's just
be.
like, he's like evil for being evil, like
Yeah.
just for
Well,
the sake of it.
he kind of got the same thing that happened with Twitter is what he did with Zuckerberg. It's like he never actually intended to buy it.
Right.
He just got he joked. Jokes went too far, and by the time they went too far, he was forced to do it. Like he was trying to back out of the deal, and the courts were like, "Yeah, no, dude, you have to buy it now."
Yeah.
And same thing with the Zuckerberg thing. Like he was definitely going to fight, and now it's just jokes, and now the jokes have gone too far, and now he looks like an idiot.
And that's the thing. Like, that kind of logic and reasoning is the same kind of logic and reasoning that got that kid to put his tongue on the frozen pole in Christmas
Yeah.
Story. He's a 12-year-old with billions of dollars, you
Yeah,
know?
and anything he's like, especially let's say you move your publication to Twitter, hypothetically.
Right.
Hypothetically, you had a news website and you move it over to X now, and you're just posting your news articles. and you're relying on that ad revenue. But now suddenly your ad revenue can just disappear based on what the CEO says, because he's known to say some stuff, and advertisers have been known to pull out when he says the ridiculous things. And so now, like, your livelihood depends on if he behaves that day.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you can make the comparison to like YouTube in 2017 with the Paul brothers, right? You know, you're monetized on YouTube and you're counting on that monetization to be there because you're building a business. But then, like, your business is in the hands of a sociopathic 20-year-old dude.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever he feels.
At least Logan wasn't the CEO, I guess.
But I mean, look at what happened in terms of, you know, Adpocalypse 2, you know, Adpocalypse, the Reckoning, like,
yeah,
just
The Force Awakens.
It just, and it really did impact. I mean, I think, you know, we're looking at YouTube monetization and the dollar amounts of AdSense being lower now as a regular thing from what it was 4 or 5 years ago. And you can trace that directly back to YouTube losing clout with the advertisers because they couldn't control their little sociopaths.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And, you know, YouTube was never built to do that, is the thing. YouTube was built to give people a venue.
Yeah.
And while that works on a certain scale, it's like when you start talking the scale of billions of viewers per day or whatever it is, and anybody can get on there and do whatever they want, you know, they've tried to put some checks and balances in terms of like, you can only be monetized if you do this or,
you
know, but with X, like, everything is so weird and murky.
Yeah.
There's no, like, YouTube for anything else, like, YouTube is highly organized. And if you're a creator on YouTube, like, you can educate yourself on the platform, right? But I wouldn't know I would be afraid to spend that kind of time on a platform like X.
Yeah.
Because it's just not.
I mean, that platform itself is a great example. I put in a lot of time and energy into growing my Twitter that I have effectively walked away from now.
Yeah.
It's like all of that time and attention that I put in the meaningfulness behind that platform for me was literally changed in a day.
Yeah.
It can all go away. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. And that's, I mean, not to get too deep in the weeds, but like you say, if you want to build a business and sort of be sustainable as you grow and get old and stuff, then you can't just say, well, you know, I'm only going to make YouTube videos or I'm only going to publish on X or Twitter or whatever, because you don't own your audience.
Yeah.
You know, like, your audience could be taken away from you tomorrow. And then that's all the people who built a following on TikTok have come to YouTube.
What do you think about TikTok, by the way?
It was fun in the beginning.
Oh, dude, but I have a problem.
Well, see, I enjoyed watching some of the videos in the early days because it wasn't like serious. But it seems like over the past few years, it's become very serious.
Like life advice and
yeah.
It's all about curating the algorithm. Like, I see a lot of goofy stuff, but I have also like put in a lot of work into telling TikTok, hey, this is what I like. I don't like this. Right. First of all, I never want to. I think Genius Bar has clips on TikTok, but I don't touch that at all. I don't know what goes up.
Right.
I wouldn't personally start a TikTok, and it's almost because I just want a platform for me, man. I just want to be able to go on and enjoy the platform itself. Because I don't really enjoy YouTube stuff anymore because it's like, it's like working at McDonald's and then going home and ordering McDonald's for dinner. Like, I don't want to do that. So TikTok, I think I tweeted this at some point. I feel like TikTok is what YouTube used to be. YouTube was what TV used to be. And TV is what radio used to be now.
Yeah. Well, that's a
But
pretty good
what you
analogy.
said
Yeah.
is absolutely correct. Like people are successful and grow on TikTok, but the content is too short form. The ads are too split between creators to the point where you don't really make much of anything unless you do brand deals there.
Right.
But the end game for TikTokers is almost like build your platform there and try to get them to transfer to YouTube.
Right. And really, only the biggest of the people on TikTok can do that. And you can try and grow both at the same time. And I know people are trying to do that, but
Mhm.
I don't. I just, if you're at a place where you haven't crossed, a certain threshold on a platform, it's almost. It seems like it would just never work to grow on multiple platforms.
Mhm.
Because the amount of time and energy that has to go into it requires you to put like all of your focus on one thing.
Yeah.
Like I have a TikTok account for Painfully Honest Tech, but all I do is take short form content that I've made for YouTube and,
Mm.
and I just farm it over there.
Yeah.
And it gives me a presence there, but I'm not growing. I think for me to grow on, or anybody, I guess, to grow on TikTok in the way that you could in the early days would require a ton of focus on
Yeah,
TikTok.
like you're dedicating time to grow on TikTok,
Yeah. Yeah.
making specific content for it, and yeah.
Yeah. And, as still a one man show, like I can only do as much as I can do,
Yeah,
so
it's hard to even justify like
yeah.
it being worth the time and
Well, yeah, considering like I make money on YouTube
Mm.
and most of the other money I make, like YouTube is top of the funnel for all that stuff, right?
yeah.
So going over to TikTok is maybe just, kind of trying to franchise myself out.
Yeah, and
But
why? Because all the TikTokers are coming to YouTube.
right.
So why would you already have the thing that people want and then put
Right.
extra time into yeah, I couldn't justify it. But I'm quite addicted to it as a platform. Like every night, that's how I wind down and I will just sometimes the algorithm is so good where I will just for like an hour or two my world drops off and I've just been watching TikTok and I'm so like engrossed in that feed because it for some reason the algorithm just graced me that day
Right.
and it really is a good actual distraction. I think my lack of attention span is also part of that.
You know what kind of ruined watching TikTok for me was when they went to like 10-minute videos.
Yeah, they
It's
do
like
that.
I don't want
I
to.
don't I you couldn't no,
Yeah.
you couldn't pay me to watch a 10-minute video on TikTok, no.
Yeah, and so I would live stream on TikTok. I
Okay.
definitely would do that. But
Mm,
they have a cap on when you can live stream. So as you can only live stream above 1,000 followers.
really?
At least that's the way
Wow.
it was like the last time I tried to
Huh,
figure out how to do it.
interesting.
And yeah, to me, like if you're a platform like TikTok, you're gonna giving people the opportunity to live stream is probably a lot better than just little bits and pieces of content from other places. Like
Yeah.
it seems like it's a really easy setup to do, and then you just sort of sit there and hang out.
And everything's just within the app,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's weird. It feels like it's a weird time in like social media in general.
Mhm.
Um, just because.
Nothing really knows what it is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. There,
X doesn't know what kind of platform well, they claim that it's gonna be the everything app, but whatever. YouTube is like, we kinda talked about how it's sort of a mix between rewarding long form content, but also trying to be the shorts platform.
yeah. And I think if any platform can do it, YouTube can be a home for all of those things. I don't think I think that the 8 to 10 to 12-minute video will always be the bread and butter of YouTube.
Mm, yeah.
I think there's space for the other things to happen and they can all probably work together, but that's the problem. Every time YouTube introduces one of these new things, there's like 6-8 months where they have to figure out like how to integrate it so it doesn't screw everything else up.
Yeah.
And so that's why people are afraid to try it. You know, it took me forever to do anything with shorts because I didn't want to screw my channel up.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
then, you know,
It's terrifying when
Yeah.
when this is your livelihood, and then they introduce new features that, well, historically, because we've been doing this for a long time on this platform, historically, when they introduce a new feature and you experiment with it, it somehow hurts your main venture.
yeah. Yeah, but see now, like my channel has now sort of gotten to this static point where like, how bad could it be?
How bad
You
could
know?
it be?
So I like again with stuff like premieres or putting up podcasts on on your long form channel or something like that. It used to be, you know, you'd have a live channel, you'd have a shorts channel, you have a clips channel, you have a podcast channel, you have like 5 channels, right?
Uh-huh.
But I did a poll with people on Twitter as well as on my community page of like where would they want to see the podcast,
Yeah.
and it was like 80-20, like or 85-15 people wanted it on my channel,
Huh.
which I did for the first few weeks, and it kind of made it kind of made everything just sort of like go, oh.
Yeah.
Like none of the
Face.
videos that would have gotten views got as many views as they would have.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just this whole thing. But yeah, it's impossible to, the only way to do this and to be able to do it without like being half scared out of your wits
Uh-huh.
is to not have to worry about the money.
Yeah.
Like if you have like other ways of funneling money into your business, you know, for education people, that's like courses and, you know, how-to books or whatever.
Yeah.
If you have other ways of putting money in your pocket, then you can do whatever you want on YouTube, right?
Yeah. But when it's not that way.
Yeah.
So it's like
very hard
it's
to
like
get
trying
there.
to play with a box of needles on your life raft.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Your
it's
inflatable life
crazy.
raft.
It's crazy. So, well, we got a few more minutes. And with these few more minutes, I want to get your take on, where I'm just like big shift of gears here, Apple Vision Pro.
Oh God, why did you do this to me? I think they really missed with that one.
Really?
I know that like anytime I've talked about this, it's always negative, and which always leads to the responses of, well, how do you know you've never tried it? In which my response is, you're saying it's great. How do you know it's great? You haven't tried it. Like, how come I'm not allowed to say bad stuff because I haven't tried it, but the people saying positive stuff, that's fine, even though they haven't tried it. At least it's positive. Like, how do you know it's the next iPhone? I think that it is. I think the concept and the idea itself is the next iPhone. I always thought that. That's why for the longest time, you know, all year, maybe the past couple of years, I've been saying like, watch out for, what did we call it? What we were calling it some goofy name for the headset that was definitely not right. But I was like promoting that and pitching that, like, wait till it drops. Is the next iPhone going to be a huge deal? And then they did it. The concept, the idea, I still think like AR is for sure the future.
Right.
But what Apple thinks we're going to do with AR is grossly misguided. That's what I think.
Well, it's interesting because I mean I have this argument with people kind of on the opposite end, because I'm way bullish on Vision Pro.
Bullish.
I don't think that Vision Pro is going to like come out of the gate and be the transitional sort of disruptor that I think it can be eventually.
Uh-huh.
But everybody when I talk to them positively about Vision Pro, they say, well, VR we've had for 40 years and it's not working. And my response to that is, well, VR has a lot of hurdles. I mean, the technology, it
and more specific use cases too.
And I mean, it took forever to get VR to the place where you could, you know, reasonably afford a VR headset, right? I mean, that's only been in the last like 5+ years. And then the use case for VR was so small It was mostly gaming focused,
Hmm.
and so it wasn't a widely adopted technology. Now it could have been, if Google had kept up with HoloLens and developed AR out of that,
Mm.
or
Google Glass.
Google Glass and then Microsoft with HoloLens. I mean, I know
Uh,
Microsoft are using HoloLens in like professional and even military applications
mhm.
because Juan told me. Uh, but
Which is a good use case, but a
yeah,
specific use case.
I mean that's sort of the place where these things develop is either they're either simple enough to develop in a consumer environment, or they're so complex that they need something more rigid.
Yeah.
And I think Vision Pro has the opportunity to be kind of in between.
Well, I think my issue with that is they made an AR product in the body of a VR product, and I just don't think I don't think that's acceptable. Like, if it did a lot of what the Oculus or sorry, the Meta Quest products do,
Right.
uh, sure, but it does less. It does less.
Yeah.
It does what it does. It does extremely well. I'm sure it's an incredible tech demo, but I think that's kind of all it is. Like it's a really impressive tech demo. Other than that, I just feel like they really missed. I mean, for lack of a better word, I feel like they missed the vision on this.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that here on your show, but
But so here's what I think. And again, like I watched that little tribute to Steve Jobs thing that Apple put. I think they put it out last year. And when he was introducing the iPhone, he had this little rotating graphic,
yeah,
and he just kept saying over and over, iPhone, or like iPod, phone,
yeah, internet communication,
internet
yeah,
communicator, right?
yeah,
And it's like, okay, that is a very simplified idea of what an iPhone is at this point,
yeah,
right? And I think the Vision Pro, the way I see it, at least the way I would approach it, is okay. We've got this technology.
hmm,
It's unprecedented in how it operates and how it integrates,
absolutely, yeah,
and so maybe let's sort of like soft open it and and just see, because the original iPhone in 2007 was over $2,000, right?
mm,
And the original Apple Lisa was the equivalent of like $40,000 in today's money. So I mean, and so we have the first computer with a graphical interface.
mhm,
We have the marriage of an entertainment device and a communication device, and now we have something that's probably going to do all of those things.
mhm,
But it's so hard to say it's going to be your computer, it's going to be your TV, it's going to be all of these
yeah,
things. I think Apple's positioned to do it well because they have the ecosystem, they have the Apple
mhm,
TV, they have AirPods, and all of these things connect even more effortlessly than they did even a couple of years ago. So I think
yeah.
they're in the position. I just don't think that they could come out and say this is what it's, and that's what people seem to criticize them for, is that they can't
Well,
really.
that's what really matters to me. Like, I feel first impressions are very important. Like, of of course, I'm not going to expect the mainstream audience to understand the concept or grasp this, which is why how they describe it and how they show it to us for the first time really matters. And a lot of people use the excuse of, well, it's not a mainstream product. It's not for everybody. And I would agree with that. And the price point, puts it in that perspective too. But they also promoted it on the Today Show. Like, that's the first time outside of, or maybe it was Good Morning America, something like that. It's not just tech nerds watching that.
No.
They also put, I think it's one of their most, if not the most watched YouTube video they've ever posted. And it's because they threw a bunch of ad dollars behind it. Like,
Right.
obviously they are promoting this like crazy, but I do believe developers will carve out a better path for this. It's just disappointing that it's on the developers, and the Apple, I feel like they don't have a grasp on like Mark Zuckerberg, I feel, has a better grasp on where this technology is headed than Apple. If anything, the Apple Vision Pro, and yes, I'm going to get it to try it because I feel like it's unfair for me to be giving my opinion and talking negatively about it and then not try it. I have to try it to at least,
Right.
confirm. But if anything, it's made me more excited about the MetaQuest products right now because they're more accessible and kind of just more fun right now.
Here's kind of the weird uncanny valley of this whole VR, AR, XR, whatever it is. VR has always been too, like, just that much too not real for people to really buy into it. And then AR has been not really as developed as it needed to be in order for, by this time I thought we were going to be able to watch a baseball game through like AR glasses and see like the stats of the player above their head.
Yeah.
Right. Or you could be like trying to go to a restaurant in town and it gives you turn by turn directions as you're walking down the street, those kinds of things. But
which is definitely where this project is headed.
Yeah.
It's just in too big of a package. Like I'm not going to wear a headset around everywhere the last 2 hours.
And so when they announced Vision Pro, I went to the most analogous Meta product, which at this point right now would be the MetaQuest Pro. But
which is discontinued, by the way.
Yeah. Discontinued less than a year after its release.
Yeah.
After they cut the price by a third.
Yeah.
and to me, I looked at that product and that was a product that didn't have a marketplace. They were trying to market it as like a business VR headset, right?
What a silly thing.
It's like nobody asked for you to tell us what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So nobody
but that's where I feel like Apple has positioned this. It's like productivity pro stuff. And all it does is like, it doesn't put you in another environment. It just puts more screens around you. And I already have so many screens.
I think if this is sort of the proof of concept,
you're getting me worked up.
So if Vision Pro, as it's going to be released, whenever it's released next year, is sort of proof of concept and sort of the test bed for development, right? Which is what it's going to be. Then in 5 years, it's going to look, walk, and talk and act like way different,
I'm sure. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are looking at it and they're like, oh, this is going to be Apple's first big failure. But I don't think it will be. I just don't think it's going to be everything that people's expectations of Apple are X, right? And so, the iPad kind of sucked when it came out and didn't seem, it was a product without a market, right? It's like, oh, it's a big iPhone. Right. And it didn't really do much. They were running iOS and it was too big to run that operating system, but eventually they figured it out. I still don't think the iPad is like an A tier and S tier product because they haven't let it be what it
iPad mini is, and I won't let you tell me otherwise.
No, I agree with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think iPad mini
okay, I'm dumping Sam as the co-host for Genius Bar, and now it's you.
I'm ready. Put me in, coach. But no, it's like, I just think that the iPad mini is the perfect representation of what that device can do and the form factor it should do it in.
Yes.
Like a 12, I've had the 12.9 inch iPad Pro.
I meant to do a clap. There you go.
But the iPad like has always wanted to be more, but Apple has like hobbled it time and time again. Right. So because they don't want to mess with the MacBook side of things.
You got to be careful. Yeah.
So I'm kind of like in this position of, I see what Vision Pro can be. And while some people I think some people look at the price and they're just like, oh my God, that's crazy. It's like, well, you're not going to pay that price, right?
Yeah.
You're going to pay $500 when it's the Apple Vision SE.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and so what? What's the price for it?
$3,500. Yes.
That's not including lenses.
Right.
Because you can't wear glasses with it. So you and we got to buy lenses, which will probably be $400-$500.
Well, and I have like astigmatism and like multiple, vision gradations and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that works out because
Yeah, you're gonna have to buy lenses. There's like you can buy another separate headset that sits on the top to make it more comfortable. That's
Yeah.
also a thing that you have. So it's gonna be like $44,000 minimum for us.
Yeah.
And then anything else, any extras that we want, if we want, another magic battery pack or whatever the hell they're gonna call it.
Yeah. Well, some people slag on the battery, but I think it's kind of, if it's not going to be tethered and powered by something connected to a source, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to swap batteries quickly
Yeah.
is like, I think, a great first step.
I wouldn't call it magic though. Like
Oh,
it's
no.
just a cord.
No, I mean, just call it the battery pack.
They can't.
And
they refuse.
yeah, but I think that Vision Pro 5 years from launch is gonna be way different. I think the Apple Watch has more future than the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Apple Watch has the potential to be the brains of a Vision Pro that doesn't have all the bulk.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, my Apple Watch has completely eliminated that phone anxiety. When you like accidentally leave your house without your phone or whatever, like I never feel like I'm not connected.
Yeah.
Like if I need to call 911, I know I can. Emergency, I know I'm good.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. And the funny thing is, I've been trying out Android watches as I've been doing these foldables.
Oh, condolences.
It's nowhere near as good.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Well, Apple Watch is the #1 selling watch in the world. Like not just smartwatches. It passed everything.
And the thing is, like, the thing that surprises me is the Apple Watch doesn't really, day to day, doesn't really do anything super special. It tracks my workouts.
That's fair, yeah.
But it does enough as an ancillary device connected to my phone that it makes having my phone a better experience.
Yeah.
Agreed. But then you can dig deeper into the Apple Watch and do different things. But I think for most people who have an Apple Watch, it's like notifications, telling time, tracking workouts, like, and then the little things that go into it. But
yeah, I kind of just use my watch for, is it worth picking up my phone right now?
Exactly. But that to me is like way better than picking up my phone 100 times.
Yeah.
So,
because once I pick up my phone, like I could go anywhere. I could open TikTok again and be gone for an hour.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. TikTok is like social media crack.
Dude, it is a black hole,
man. And that's why I stopped really watching it, because I would find myself like
you're
losing.
Protecting yourself.
I found myself losing like an hour plus of my life every time I open it up.
Oh, yeah.
But YouTube Shorts do the same thing. Like YouTube Shorts at 1 minute are like
will suck you in.
They're the crack that TikTok used to be before, like the 3 and 10 minute videos. So, but most YouTube Shorts are repurposed from other content, and that usually sucks.
Yeah.
So, but we've come to the end of our time here. I had to get your Vision Pro take, because
my take is that Apple missed the mark, and I have no doubt that it's the future, that they'll figure it out. Developers will steer it in the right direction, and in 5 years, I'm sure it's a much better and much different product. But first impressions really matter, and I feel like they've nailed first impressions for basically every launch except this one. But I don't think it's going to like, I think Apple might be too big to fail anything right now.
The thing is, like, well, I would have said the same thing about Facebook, except for the fact that Facebook is not a hardware company.
Yeah.
And they don't know shit about marketing.
Yeah.
and so
I think everything can just be fixed with a Facebook ad.
Well, the thing is, like, I look at when they bought Oculus and turned it into Quest, I thought, okay, if they're going to put a bunch of money behind this.
Yeah.
And a bunch of money usually solves a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But the fact is, like, the Oculus Quest is, the Quest 2 is a Beat Saber machine.
Yeah,
right?
Accurate. Accurate.
And the Quest 3 doesn't have like the pancake lenses. It doesn't have the cameras for the so they took out all the stuff that was like next gen.
Yeah.
From the Quest 3. And so they're going in the wrong direction, and they never figured out how to sell it. Yeah. And I saw that Jarvis Johnson, another YouTuber,
he spent 24 hours or something.
He spent a week
Holy
He
no!
spent-
Kill
he's-
me! Just kill me!
He
Bullet
spent
to
a
the head.
week inside the metaverse and discovered that there were fewer than 900 people living in the metaverse.
I
Like,
mean, I
spending the-
would hope there's less than that. That's
But
sad.
Zuckerberg told us there was going to be like 20,000 or something.
Now I gotta watch that video. I keep
Yeah.
seeing it recommended to me, and I keep avoiding it.
I just actually like saw secondhand some like news bit about it, but
Gotcha.
yeah, I think the level of failure that Meta has experienced with this will go down in history. This might be like their Newton times 10.
Yeah.
Because it's they don't know how to sell it. I mean, and that's the one thing that Apple can do. Apple could make you buy a bag of shit and call it magic shit bag.
Magic shit bag, yeah.
And you would be like, okay, I can see how this fits into my life.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, thank you so much for being here, being a part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It felt good to finally return. Let's make the next let's make my next appearance not take this long.
That's absolutely. I'll be back on the horn with you, because there's only so many guest hosts that I can have. I mean,
that's true. Also, we should just hang out and chat one day.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Well, this is the end of yet another episode of the Painfully Honest Tech podcast. My name is Jason. We've been here with Jon Prosser today.
Thank you for having me again.
The guy who knows everything before anyone knows it.
Something like that.
Thanks so much for being here. Until the next time, we are out.